My name is Debabrata Bhowmick. I'm the country head of C-RAD, a medtech company based out of Uppsala, Sweden. When I talk about the cancer burden of India, the latest report by ICMR, which is Indian Council of Medical Research, speaks about the burden that Indians suffering from cancer is projected to increase from 29.8 million in 2025 from the existing 26.7 million, which is a huge steep. Now, what are the challenges we face when it comes to the cancer burden? Out of this number which I have told, 60% of the people requires radiotherapy. Now, do we have that adequate number of linear accelerators in the country? I guess no. So, the major challenge which I can see being in the radiotherapy field for last 4 years is the question of time. Time is very, very important. So when I put this into pillars, two things, one is time and the second thing is precision, is becoming the need of the hour. So again, ICMR also states that 40% out of this total number which I have told earlier suffers from basically a lung cancer, which contributes to total around 10.6%, and the breast cancer. These are the two major cancer burdens for India. So well, how do we address this and what's the way forward? Number one, as you know, we don't have adequate number of linear accelerators in India. So together with the government and the private parties, we should increase the number of linear accelerators to serve this huge number of patients suffering from cancer. Number two, well, do we have an awareness? Awareness and education is another pillar when it comes to cancer. Number three, do we have the adequate number of resources? When I talk about resources, I mean doctors, medical physicists, radiation therapists to take care of these patients. Number four, we need to have a technology which supports and helps in saving time, which I mean throughput. Last but not the least, what matters when it comes to radiotherapy is basically precision management. Do we have anything in today which helps in interfraction motion management? Well, that is where surface-guided radiation therapy comes into play. So what is surface-guided radiation technology? Surface-guided radiation technology is currently used across the globe now in most advanced radiotherapy clinics. SGRT uses a projector with optical light and multiple cameras to track the surface of the patients. SGRT hence can create a real-time three-dimensional map of your skin. It increases accuracy of your positioning before the treatment begins, and make sure that the radiation is precisely targeted throughout the treatment delivery. By monitoring thousands of unique points of the surface of the patient's body, SGRT, what we call, double checks the location and position of the patient's body during the treatment. Radiation begins only when SGRT technology has checked the patient's alignment against the treatment plan. The beauty of the system is SGRT will stop the radiation if the patient moves a slightest millimeter out of the alignment which is already sketched or designed. If the patient coughs, sneezes, for example, this prevents the beam from being misdirected to the wrong part of the patient's body. By using SGRT imaging, we can actually see the real time whether the patient's body is properly positioned for the treatment. That is what I was talking during the time-saving factor earlier. Using SGRT, hence, again, helps reduce the need for an X-rays or cone beam CT scans, which is called CBCT. The total radiation exposure saves time for the radiotherapy treatment. That is very, very important. Once the treatment begins, SGRT is used to monitor the patient's position. So currently the positioning of the patient is done using 3-point laser-based system in which the patient is aligned with the help of in-room lasers. For the case of monitoring the patient during the treatment, generally it is relied on the CCTV cameras installed in the LINAC room. As compared to the conventional system, with the help of SGRT, we can position the patient with the information of 3 million points rather than 3 points. In case of slightest of the movement of the patient, the motion will be detected by the system and will automatically stop the treatment. Currently, this is missed by the human eye while monitoring the patient's movement on the CCTV. SGRT technologies hence helps in detecting the intrafractional motion management. So SGRT typically uses the optical visual light or laser scanners to image the surface of the patient with high resolution without additional radiation dose. Generally, the system employs multiple cameras through the principle of triangulations. They can reconstruct a three-dimensional representation of the patient's surface that is related to the treatment coordinate system and also calculate the treatment isocenter location within that surface. The surface is then updated in real time by the system during the patient setup and treatment delivery. So SGRT technologies can be used to treat left breast cancer, liver cancer, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, head and neck cancers, cancer for extremities, and pelvic cancer. So breast cancer is one of the major cancers, which I told earlier in India. 10.5% of the total population suffering from cancer is predicted to have a breast cancer. So how does SGRT addresses this? SGRT can decrease the setup deviations for the breast patients compared to the conventional laser-based setup. Additional information of the patient posture is provided using the surface-based setup compared to the laser-based setup. This improves positioning. Daily surface-guided radiotherapy for breast cancer patients can thus reduce the time and dose associated with the verification imaging. You know, the proximity of the left breast to the heart leaves the heart vulnerable to radiation exposure. This has been shown to lead to serious long-term cardiac complications. There are studies which shows that 27% patients treated for the left breast cancer exhibited cardiac perfusion defects within 6 months of radiotherapy, which is quite a big number. So a technique nowadays which is called DIBH, which is deep inspirational breath hold, to move the heart away from the breast is being used. However, achieving this can be challenging. Patients breathe in different ways at different times. They may arch their body, they may arch their back to stimulate a deep breath in. There are different movements can appear similar to a patient's breath hold, but do not necessarily separate the heart from the breast. So, there are studies that shows that DIBH along with surface-guided radiation therapy technologies can effectively prevent radiation-induced abnormalities in blood flow to the heart. So to conclude, surface-guided radiation therapy, or SGRT, as it is known in the short form, tremendously increases safety and efficiency in advanced radiation therapy clinics by protecting healthy tissues from exposure to it. Surface-guided radiotherapy hence have become one of the very important elements for precision radiotherapy.